you live in Salt Lake City, you've certainly heard of Delta Airlines. Even a stadium in downtown Salt Lake was named after the company. We even have a role in making Delta the most profitable airline in the world.
Yeah, it was us.
It was all us.
So you're welcome. Here to explain a little more about the industry, even writing a book on the topic, Seth Kaplan. Thanks for coming in, Seth. Appreciate
Thanks for having me.
Here's the book. It's a thick one. It's a thick book, I notice. You've got a lot to say about this particular topic. So let's ask you here. First of all, we're going to get to the Salt Lake City quotient of this in just a second. But how did Delta do this? Because back in 2001, right before September 11, things were not looking good.
Not good at all. And then they got even worse. And I mean, this is a company that was, to say they were merely bankrupt, although that's true, almost understates the case. I mean, half the airlines in this country were bankrupt at one point. They were really on the verge of going out of business. And people who flew them back then, I mean, you remember, dirty airplanes, demoralized employees. And so now, I mean, just before I got on the set this morning, I saw this release from a company that ranks the value of brands. And Delta's the most valuable brand in America, the second most valuable in the world. And really, when you think about where they were, just remarkable. And what's interesting is that they're not only making a lot of money, although they are, but they've done it in a way that's been pretty good for their employees and their customers too. They've created an airline that makes a lot of money, that people like to fly, people like to work for again. And that's why we thought it's an interesting story.
Well, how did they do that? How did they climb out of that hole they were in?
Yeah, well, first with some very painful things. I mean, look, the financial. Gosh, a lot of people who live here, if they don't work for Delta, their friends and neighbors do. They remember the furloughs and all the pay cuts and everything. So that was part of it. But then they really did start reinvesting in the product. I mean, they had a CEO who was out there cleaning planes overnight with the people. And, they promised the employees that, hey, if you do this with us, get this airline back to where it can be, we're going to go ahead and pay you again, and then you'll be happy, and take care of the customers. And that's really what happened. So basically creating happy employees and doing the things, and a lot of it's, nothing fancy. A lot of it's just running an on-time operation, getting people there on time and with their bags. They're running the most reliable airline kind of in the history of the world right now.
Right,
yeah, the basics.
Think.
Yeah.
So let's talk about how Salt Lake City fares in this and the responsibilities here, because we had an arena named after Delta, the Delta Center here, renamed now. But so how big of a factor does Salt Lake City play in this?
Salt Lake City is very important. I mean, it factors not only in Delta but other parts of the book. I mean, look, Morris Air, right? Dave Nealman ends up going in, founding JetBlue, which becomes a problem for Delta. But then on the other hand, the Western merger way back in the 80s, Western becomes a part of Delta, and of course, Salt Lake City then becomes a part of Delta. Salt Lake City, actually, in terms of turnarounds, the hub turned around too. This was a hub where Delta was kind of struggling at one point, and there was a time when people were asking questions, would this survive as a hub? Because let's be honest, Cincinnati, Memphis, other Delta hubs, especially after the merger with Northwest, didn't survive. Salt Lake City did, and that has to do with, with a number of things. Partly, the economy here is decent, a growing population, so it kind of grew into itself, and now it's a rather successful hub for Delta.
Okay. Well, Seth, thank you for coming in. Glory Lost and Found is the title of the book, and we appreciate you talking with us this morning about Delta.
It is a gripping start to the book, I'm not going to lie. I mean, it's some good writing, Seth.
Thank you. No,
well done.
I appreciate that. Yeah.
Thanks. Appreciate it. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Dan Carey.
Good luck with the book.